This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to Orioles on the Verge. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phil and Nick Stevens. And on tonight's episode, we're going to break down two big debuts that the Orioles have had in recent days, with Dylan Beavers and Samuel Basallo joining the Major League club. Look at what it means not just for the rest of the 2025 season, but beyond. And we're going to break all of that down on tonight's episode. And really, I think the important thing here is that in the late stretch of what has been a very challenging year for the Orioles, Beavers and Basallo seem to have raised morale a little bit. Beavers joined the Orioles on Saturday and went 1 for 5 in his debut as the Orioles squared off against the Houston Astros. In Sunday's finale in Houston, Basallo joined the team and has made an immediate impact so far through his first two Major League games, which include Sunday's finale in Houston and Monday's series opener at Fenway Park. Basallo is 3 for 9 with the Orioles and became the first player in franchise history to have back-to-back multi-RBI games to begin his career. And we have talked about these players at length, not just this season, but in years past. Basallo has been our number one prospect for a while. In our most recent top 50 update, Beavers was right behind him at number 2. And that comes with a trend of more national love, as Beavers has been added to several top 100 prospect lists at the national level recently. So, Bob, I will start with you here. It feels like these two players may be coming up to a team that has struggled for the course of this year, but at good times for them, because there's going to be plenty of opportunities. And we've seen in the limited sample they've been here that they are capable of making a difference.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. We needed this. I'm just going to say we needed this year for sure. I know, Nick, you said this was going to be the first full Orioles game you watched this weekend in a long time. I totally get it.
I've watched 3 straight full Orioles games for the first time since April.
Gotta love it. See, we needed this. And yeah, and look, already it seems like these are not going to be guys that get off to these really big slumps the way Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo, Jackson Holiday did. I mean, they're going to have slumps, period. It might even be sooner rather than later, but they at least came up, had some immediate success. Dylan Beavers' first 3 games had a double, a single, 2 hits and 2 walks last night. I don't know what he's done tonight, but Basallo, just everything is advertised. Maybe this is what happens when you overcook them a little bit in AAA more than, I'm not going to say rush them to get up here, but maybe they could have been up sooner, but maybe this little arbitrary deadline thing got them a little more fully baked in the oven before they came up. But Basallo was ready. He was robbed of a home run. Would have been a cheapie, but him and Gunnar both got robbed by Jesus Sanchez in Houston. You hit the double off the wall. His bat speed's up to 85.5 miles per hour, and he's just turned 21 like a week ago. So he looks fantastic. I even thought he looked pretty good behind the plate in his first game. Trevor Rogers had a lot of good to say with him, but yeah, this is great for 2026. I think team's playing well overall. This is what you want. You want to go into the offseason with some momentum and with some of these younger guys playing a part so that you can feel good about going in, grabbing a few big pitchers maybe, and seeing what you can do next year.
Yeah, I should go back to Basallo, and like you said, these guys are going to have their struggles probably soon. They could hit a wall by the end of the year as well, because remember, they've had a very long AAA season up to this point as well. So now even though this team isn't in a playoff chase, the intensity is still ratcheted up 10 times. So we'll see what the rest of the year brings. But we've talked about this a lot already with Basallo, especially over the last 2 years, and more so over the last year, really, as he's continued to develop and look better and better, because he many years ago when he first signed, we did not think he would become this type of player. And look who he is now. Both of these guys is a great part of this story is that Dylan Beavers was also not a can't miss prospect. He was a prospect many people did not enjoy coming out of the draft. But with Basallo specifically, like, I hope more and more people understand that Samuel Basallo coming up and performing well has the potential to be franchise altering. Like, I just don't want to throw that out there and use that descriptor lightly. And I don't want him to feel that pressure, even though we know he does. We already know he feels enough pressure, and no one is ever going to be harder on him than how hard he is on himself. But Basallo being the first homegrown international prospect to hopefully rise to stardom at the major league level. And I know it's only been a couple of games, and I don't want to throw all of this on him, but like we've talked about this being peak Samuel Basallo and what he can become. Like it's going to just open so many doors. Again, like we've talked about, the kids back in the DR are going to look up to him, and they're going to want to be the next Samuel Basallo, and they're going to want to play for the Orioles like their hero. And I just think this entire operation, led by Kobe Perez, has done an incredible job in building up the international pipeline from a literal joke. Literally, the international program with the Orioles was a joke to the rest of the league, and now it's a threat. And Basallo could become the shining star of this, hopefully. Like you mentioned, even getting the day behind the plate with Trevor Rogers. Trevor Rogers have a real shaky outing, giving up one run, but gave a shout out to Basallo and his work behind the plate that day, doing it on the road in Boston. Shout out to him. Yeah, Jesus Sanchez decided to become relevant for the first time in his career. Picked a great day to do that. But still, like you saw the flash, that double off the wall, off the green monster, like he had a lot of really, really exciting at-bats there in those first couple of days. I hate that he was off tonight as we're recording this. I do have to say that. Beavers is playing every day, but I believe it was Ryan. Used to be O's fans probs on Twitter, I think Ryan, I can't pull it up here live on the air, but he had a really good tweet about, Tony Mansolino saying, oh, hey, like, we don't want to just like throw them to the wolves right here from the start. And Ryan was like, Samuel Basallo is like a robbed home run away from these monster numbers opening weekend. Like, Samuel Basallo is the wolf. And I read that, I was just like, ooh, I like that. It's just exciting. You don't want to get like super jazzed up here and be like, all right, they're in. They're not going to slump. They're going to take off like rocket ships right now. But after the season that we've had to sit through these last couple of days, like I hope this continues to roll on into the offseason, because the last few days, and tonight including, looks like there's winning right now. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and obviously I'd love to watch these guys in the lineup every day, and there's a reason they won't be, and the reason that they're at the bottom of the batting order, because you got to massage those at bats. Can't get more than 130. So Beavers walks more. He'll probably be in the lineup more often. I think Basallo is going to be aggressive up there. So yeah, unfortunately it's all part of the game they're playing. But I thought the most impressive at bat by Samuel Basallo this weekend was taking a Jordan Hicks 97-mile-per-hour fastball above the zone and just, bam, slamming it into right center field. I mean, if you look at the plot, they were attacking him up. If you look at his weakness, so to speak, as he was coming up, it was he can't really handle velocity, especially up in the zone. Well, maybe that's because he really hadn't seen it. He saw it all game long, and then boom, no problem. I think the league is going to have a lot of trouble finding a way to attack him consistently with success. And the start of a special career right here. It's goosebump inducing.
Yeah, I don't think it's hyperbole to say that this could be franchise altering from Basallo's talent alone to what it will mean for the Orioles international program, which has essentially been non-existent for decades. And we talk all the time about the benefits that Kobe Perez and his team have yielded in the minor leagues. But up to this point, we haven't really been able to see that carry over the majors, which is fair when you consider that most of these players signed at 16, and the program as it is now probably didn't really get underway until 2020, which was probably the first big class under Kobe Perez. But Basallo's arrival in the major leagues, I think, like Nick said, is really has the potential to spark a new era for this franchise. One where it's more relevant internationally, especially in the Dominican Republic. And let's face it, you've got a 21-year-old who's coming up here with a chance to make this team a lot better, not just this year, but next year, because You look up and down the Orioles lineup, where they need help. Well, they could use a little bit more power. First base and DH have been kind of middling this year outside of Ryan O'Hearn. Adley Rutschman, I have hope that we're going to see the better version of Adley Rutschman come back at some point, but I think it's clear that after years of a really high workload, there's a cost to the number of at-bats that Rutschman has had over his career so far and the lack of true off days. And the reason that the Orioles did what they did with Rutschman over the first 2 years is because they had to do it. He was their best all-around hitter. They had to have him in the lineup. But now you add Basallo to the mix, and you've got Gunnar Henderson. You have these other players coming in. You can afford to let Adley rest a little bit more. And I think that even if the long-term plan is Adley Rutschman walks after 2027, that's still going to be really beneficial to the Orioles.
Yeah. I want to say that Sunday's lineup in Houston was by far my favorite lineup we had all season long. I think it was, Jackson Holliday, Jordan Westberg. Of course, he got hurt soon after. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Kobe Mayo, Dylan Beavers, Samuel Basallo, whom I'm missing one. Jeremiah Jackson was in there, and there was one more that I'm not thinking of right this second, but that's okay. Jeremiah Jackson, by the way, batting .341, continuing to do what he was doing in AAA on the way up. Can't forget about him. So it's just a fun time right now.
Yeah, and I think too, with talking about Adley, I think you're going to see Basallo, probably not this year because, like you mentioned, they got to game the system. But I do think next year you see Samuel Basallo catch a lot more than what I think people think he's going to. It's when you listen. I was listening to some fantasy stuff earlier today, and they're talking about the call up, of course. And when you listen to the national narrative about Basallo's defense and just him as a prospect, the national media doesn't understand yet. They truly don't. The bat they don't understand quite yet, but the defense they're clueless. And I think you hear the other reports, like the internal reports about what these guys are, like objective internal reports. Just here's the data on the throws. Here's the data on the stuff. The defense, I think, is a lot better than what some people want to give him credit for. And he's going to continue to work on that. Again, he's only 21 years old. He just turned 21 years old. He's only caught one game at the major league level. It's why he's up now. You're going to see him catch more games this year to continue to work on some things. And I think next year you see him behind the plate a lot more than anybody is expecting. So,
yeah, and actually thought JJ Cooper's piece was pretty good. It was pretty even-handed. It says he's below average right now, which you would expect considering the limited amount of time he's had and his age. But he said he sees no reason why he couldn't be at least average moving forward, which, yeah, I think that's with his bat at average defense, I think that's going to be plenty good. And yeah, it's getting harder and harder to find room for Ryan Mountcastle in the 2026. I was already trying to squeeze him off, but it's getting harder and harder between Kobe Mayo, Samuel Basallo. Like, these guys need to be playing every day next year. And I think with an off season of learning from this season, what the Bash brothers, they need to be in the lineup every other day. And Colton Cowser was the other name I forgot from Sunday's lineup.
Well, and as a little teaser here, because I know that Ryan Mountcastle is a lot of Orioles fans' favorite player to debate. We have more on Ryan Mountcastle in our next episode later this week, which is going to be a mailbag show. But I'll pivot to Dylan Beavers for a moment. And Nick, I want to go back to something you touched on earlier, which is that Beavers was not a can't-miss prospect coming out of the draft at all. That is absolutely true. I remember John Mioli at his newsletter, which he had at the time, breaking down some of the immediate changes that the Orioles were making to Beavers' swing, because that seemed to be the biggest weakness coming out of Cal. Was there's all these raw tools, but the swing isn't pretty. And a lot of, you go back to a lot of national reports at the time, and I don't think that there was a ton of confidence that Beavers could fix those issues in pro ball, and not only do it in a way that would allow him to be successful in the minor leagues, but that would enable him to improve the hit tool overall, tap a little bit into that raw power, and just generally improve his plate approach. Beavers, you knew that the skill set was intriguing. You knew that the tools were interesting, but it felt like the Orioles were taking a little bit of a shot in the dark, knowing what a project he was.
Yeah, I think I don't think it was any secret. Like everybody knew. That's why he was picked, 33rd, 34th overall. Like that's why he slipped, because yes, he showcased great power at Cal. He had all those loud tools you mentioned, but yeah, being able to translate that to pro ball, everyone knew was going to be a big issue. And the Orioles said they were up for the challenge. This is what I love. If he's going to come up and be able to find his role in the major leagues, like it makes, I'm not saying there's hope for Vance Honeycutt. We're not going there. I'm just going to get ahead of that. But you look at last year's draft class that everybody was so quick to be down on. You look at this year's draft class that we're all initially so excited about. It makes me a lot more excited about a lot more hitters down lower in the farm system. If they can do what they did with Beavers, and he can be this good off the jump in the major leagues, like that's exciting about the future and the health of this organization down lower. But yeah, I felt bad all weekend because it's like Basallo. It's like Dylan Beavers is also knocking the cover off the ball here and play. He belongs. I think that's clear as day from the start. He belongs in this lineup. He belongs in the major leagues. 4 hits, 3 walks in 3 games before tonight. Like he showed down in AAA, like a lot of things like the chase rate and the swing and miss, so many things that he excelled at. Like there's going to be regression. Those numbers in the major leagues are not going to look as pretty as they did in AAA, but there's such this wide gap between where he was at in AAA and just MLB average numbers in a lot of these categories that as he settles in and even regresses a little bit, those numbers should still look pretty good. Like his ability to pull the ball in the air and do damage on those types of batted balls is consistent. These super high barrel rates. Like, yeah, he doesn't have the extreme max exit velos like Samuel Basallo does, but he gets to upper level EVs consistently. I think the power, it may not show up initially here in the big leagues as he settles in, but next year, I think it could. This is a regular, I think, 2020 guy if all goes right once he settles in. And even, I don't know if you guys saw the Eli Ben Pratt over at Baseball America. He did one of his deep dive pieces. Like, again, he included Dylan Beavers. I think it was last week. And it was just like, look at this graph. These are sliders. You see the big gold bubbles? That's Dylan Beavers doing a lot of damage against sliders. That's also exactly where pitchers are trying to throw sliders to him. And he's only whiffed 1 time against a slider in the zone right here. Oh, you want to throw a changeup against Dylan Beavers? Yeah. You better not leave it in the zone because he attacks those pitches. Leave a curveball in the zone. That's his home run money pitch. Like major league pitchers are going to have to be, of course, they're going to be so much better at being able to exploit even the smallest of holes and weaknesses in his game, and they're going to relentlessly attack him. But you zoom out and look at Beaver's entire profile, he's going to be able to adjust, I feel like, in the big leagues. Like, and even against lefties, I don't think this is a platoon bat either at all. Like, is he going to hit a home run off a lefty? Probably not, but he's going to hit for a really good average, move him down the lineup, but you're going to keep him in the lineup against lefties, I think.
Yeah, let the record show I never wanted to trade Dylan Beavers. That was all pretend. No, yeah, it's exciting. Beavers has really clicked this year, and it seems sustainable to me. It just seems like he's really found a comfortable spot with his swing. His defense looks pretty good, too. He made a nice play today in right field. I just wanted to compare his 2025 minor league season to Colton Cowser's 2023 minor league season because it's remarkably similar. Let's see, 2023, Colton Cowser batted 300 with got to run down here to get the OPS, with a 937 OPS, which is a 140 WRC plus, walked 16% of the time, struck out almost 27% of the time, and had a 220 ISO. Dylan Beavers, meanwhile, he had a 304 batting average with a 935 OPS, 152 WRC plus, 16.3% walk rate, 18.2% strikeout rate, 211 ISO. So very, very similar, except Beavers has struck out much less, and he doesn't have the power that Cowser has, just plain and simple, I don't think, at least in game. Maybe he can develop that, but he does not swing and miss as much. He's going to take his walks. He's going to hit for average. He's going to hit doubles. He's going to pop 20, 25 home runs a season, and he's going to play a solid outfield as well. So, yeah, I know everyone's down on Colton Cowser right now. I think it's a little unfair to him considering that he broke his hand in the last game of the season last year. Probably did not have much evolution in his game as he's just trying to recover coming into spring training, and then he's been hurt twice this year. But I think Colton Cowser and Dylan Beavers are going to make a fantastic corner outfield, and we just gotta Got to find that center fielder for 2026 if it's not Cowser himself, and buy some time for Bradfield over the resurgent Vance Honeycutt. He'll always have that week a couple weeks ago. Can't take that away from him. Dylan Beavers. Don't let it be overshown. It's like Nick said, I'm excited. I mean, I'm glad that they gave them each their own day to have their moment, but it did kind of suck that Basallo vastly overshadowed him the next day. So don't forget about Beavers.
Hiring shouldn't be a hassle or a drain on your budget. Upwork is your one-stop shop to find, hire, and pay top freelance talent, saving you time and keeping costs in check, all in one place. Do you know the secret to businesses that are scaling faster than ever? They're using Upwork to tap into a diverse pool of skilled freelancers across various industries. With more than 2 decades of experience, with a simple and ambitious goal, to pioneer a better way of working. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. No cost to join. You can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with the top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com.
Now, I want to put this out there. We know that 130 at-bat threshold is going to be looming with both of these players, although I think in the case of Basallo, it's going to be pretty easy to keep him under that. The Orioles, at least for now, are keeping Alex Jackson on the roster, and if Adley Rutzman does not have to go on the IL with his latest injury concern, then possibly the Orioles carry 3 catchers on the roster for the rest of the season, or for at least the next few weeks. And with Basallo perhaps not catching more than a day or two a week, you can probably keep him under 130 at bats easily. But how do you think the Orioles handle Beavers? Because it is tempting in a way to decide, all right, we're going to challenge him a little bit. We're going to not use him the way that a lot of Orioles prospects have been used when they come up, which is where they're in a strict platoon situation because we're trying to win games. But at the same time, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Beavers is starting to appear on more top 100 prospect lists. And it would seem like, let's say there's a scenario where Beavers finishes 135 at-bats this year. It would seem like there's 5 at-bats for kind of wasted when he could have been Rookie of the Year eligible next year. So how do you think the Orioles handle his playing time going forward, knowing that he is a player that should be playing a lot, but you also want to try to keep him under that at-bat threshold, perhaps?
Bring up Jed Fabian and work them both in at the same time. No, I think this organization is very clearly much higher on Dylan Beavers than national outlets are. And so I do think, like I said, that they're going to hit that wall eventually. The adrenaline is pumping right now. Right now it's fun. You're getting their feet wet instantly, and then they're going to come home here soon and have against Houston. They got the next 4 days after the off day tomorrow. But you're going to get the series against Houston. They're going to give them their time here at home in Baltimore to get used to the crowd and say hello to the crowds, the home crowds. But then I think they're going to back off a little bit. You're going to give them a couple more days off here and there and work some more guys in, because I don't at this point. You're going to wait to bring them up. I don't think they're going to jeopardize that next year Rookie of the Year potential at this point. Otherwise, they would have brought him up, a couple of weeks before. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, Dylan Beavers is not yet qualified for that PPI for the Rookie of the Year if he does win it next year. But the new list for Pipeline came out. He wasn't on it. Baseball America, he was 83rd. And ESPN has yet to update their top 100, but they did update the personal list for the teams, and Beavers went from our 5th rated prospect to number 2. That tells me he probably will be on that top 100 and therefore be qualified. So unless he goes over his next 100, he'll probably be qualified for that going into next year. Yeah, I think he's going to walk enough where he can be in a little bit more often, maybe tough lefty starters. You leave him on the bench. Like I said, I think Basallo is a little more aggressive hitter, so I don't think they can count on the walks to keep the at-bat, because it's at-bats and not plate appearances that go towards it. All I know is they both better be in the lineup Saturday night when I am at the the game with the fellow patrons in the suite. We all rented out. So yeah, looking forward to that. And there's 2 tickets available if anyone wants to become a patron and buy one of those seats. But yeah, I think Beavers, he's going to play mostly every day, right field, left field. And, tough lefties, give him a day off. Maybe he can come in pinch hit later in games if room provides.
With that, now we will head into our final segment of the show. Last call brought to you by Checker Spot Brewing, located at 1421 Ridley Street. Checker Spot is not far from Camden Yards, making it the perfect place for a pre- or post-game drink. And when the Orioles do come back into town later this weekend, be sure to head to the ballpark and check out the beer stand behind home plate, where you can get one of the Checker Spot's signature beers, The Bird is the Word. And now we'll do our usual shout-out of players outside the top 30 portion of our top 50 prospects list for something they've done recently, whether it's been a good game, a good week, or just something interesting, their stat line that we want to note. And I'll start with Nick here because he has 2 guys that coming into this year that were seen as breakout candidates, but for various reasons have maybe slipped off the radar a little bit. However, both of those players deserving of being in the segment this week.
Yeah, last week was a great week. From top to bottom, a fantastic week. And there's so much information. We put out the weekly recap episode on the main feed. So if you haven't listened to that, please go check that out as well for more minor league talk. But my hitter, I went with Tavian Josenberger. He had 333 last week's 5 games, had a double, home run, 2 stolen bases, 7 walks to 1 strikeout. And then I think tonight, right, the Bay Sox have already wrapped up tonight. I think he had another 2 hits and a walk, or a walk and a hit and a stolen base. He had another really good night at the plate as well to add to that. So he's continuing a good trend there. Hasn't developed into the player I think we were hoping for up to this point, but he's also had a few IL stints this year. So I also put an article up on Substack on Monday looking at a few possible Arizona Fall League options, and I included Josenberger in there. I think that makes a lot of sense, that he could potentially go out west in a couple of weeks after the season ends. So we talked about how intriguing he was because that power, he moves to the SEC his last year at college, and the power shined. The defense in center field shines. He's played a lot of second base here as well. So I am still intrigued, at least, by Josenberger and his potential. I think this year was just an injury-riddled year, and we'll see what happens next year. But next year is definitely going to be a big year, a critical year. And pitchers, Chase also, we might have some life here. He dropped a lot in our rankings this year. We've talked a few times about his troubles and why he's dropped so far in our rankings this year. But this past week, he went 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. And over his last 2 starts, he's allowed 0 earned runs. That's 9 total innings, 3 hits, 5 walks, 18 strikeouts. In the month of June, he pitched 19 innings. He walked 17 batters. In 29 innings since the beginning of July, he's walked 16. So the walk rate is looking much better. 2 really good outings. I think they were both relief, although I think the last outing actually might have been a start. I can't remember. One of them was a long relief outing. One was a start. Either way, 2 really good outings here. Like I said on Monday's show, I'm not jumping up and down with joy quite yet. He's going to have 3 more outings this year. I believe there's only 3 weeks left, so 3 more outings. Hopefully all 3 of those are good outings, and he can string together a good stretch here, final month of the year to close out the year and enter 2026 with a little bit of optimism. But there might be some life here with Alsop, which is really good to see, considering all the hype that was being generated about him coming into the year.
Yeah, I wonder if Chase Alsop could be our Levi Wells equivalent, maybe going into this. I was actually between Tavian Josenberger and the guy I picked for my hitter. I'm still weirdly bullish on Tavian Josenberger because, man, he's a lefty with that kind of speed, a great walk rate, doesn't strike out a ton, definitely more so this year than last, but a 228 BABIP. Last year he had a 257 BABIP in high A. He should be running higher BABIPs, and that's going to do a lot of work to get his numbers looking more normal. I think Arizona Fall League would be perfect place for him and Enrique Bradfield to team up. But I did go with Braylon Tavera of the Delmarva Shorebirds, only because he's 20 years old. You look at his numbers, he's batting 213, 660 OPS. You're like, oh man, is this another Michael Hernandez who hasn't quite worked out from the international front? I'm not so sure. I think you got to look at a little deeper when it comes to Delmarva. and even Aberdeen, like the WRC plus, he still has a 104 WRC plus, and I believe he has a triple tonight, which should only make that go up. He's walking 13.4% of the time. He is striking out more, 31.6, but ISO's up from 40 last year to 111. So slowly starting to tap into that. It's not like it's a breakout season or anything, but it's at least signs of life, and he's still very young. So I think he's probably going to start back in Delmarva to begin 2026, but I think that's when you could potentially see a breakout if it's going to happen. And my pitcher is going to be Michael Caldone, who I used to say Blake Money was the most underrated pitcher in the organization. I think Michael Caldone might be starting to take over that mantle, and I'm including myself in this. But on the year for Low A Delmarva, he pitched 62 and a thirds innings, had a 2.31 ERA, 3.24 FIP, struck out 26.5% of batters, and walked 10.5. And then he just recently got promoted to High A Aberdeen. In his first outing there, he pitched 3 and a thirds innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 unearned run, walked 1 batter, struck out 3. So, yeah, just 22 years old, be 23 in October, probably start back at Aberdeen in 2026. But I think maybe he's a guy that, you know, from a small school, Felician, right, university, whatever, maybe this is a guy they can tinker with in the offseason to make him pop even more next season.
Good choices. I'm going to start my hitter, and if you want to talk about someone from the 2024 draft class that has given us a little bit more reason for hope recently, it's been Griff O'Farrell. Dating back to July 13th, O'Farrell has been riding a 25-game on-base streak. In that span, he's hit 305 with a 402 on-base percentage, thanks in no small part to his 16 walks compared to just 11 strikeouts. I think that when you look at O'Farrell's season, both in this recent hot streak and the whole year dating back to the beginning of the season, we can see what the problem is for O'Farrell. He has very good walk to strikeout numbers, but he just doesn't hit the ball all that hard. And even in this recent on-base stretch, we're only looking at a total of 6 extra bases, all of them doubles. But the reason that I'm a little bit optimistic right now is that A, he seems to be ending the year on a high note, and B, we know that Aberdeen, hitters are not going to hit out a lot of power there. O'Farrell's WRC plus right now is at 97, which, given his struggles earlier this season, I think the fact that he's gotten it up there is a pretty good sign. And honestly, I hope that the Orioles challenge him a little bit and have him finish the season at Chesapeake, not just to see, can he pad the numbers a little bit with more power, with a move up to a better ballpark. But maybe what we're starting to see now is that because of O'Farrell's plate approach and his good bat-to-ball skills, he was able to overcome some bad luck early in the year and really start to break out in a meaningful way. I think it's clear that we know what he has to work on and what he has to do to get better. But the fact that he's been able to rebound from a really, really tough first few months of this season has certainly been encouraging. And my pitcher, I'm shouting out Carter Ballmer this week. Congratulations to him for the move up to Double-A Chesapeake. Ballmer, a 5th-round pick back in 2020. The Orioles went over slot to get out of Dowling Catholic High School in Iowa, has struggled with injuries over the course of his career. He missed 2021 because of Tommy John surgery, so he didn't make his professional debut until 2022 and was injured off and on for the last few years. And coming into this season, had just 51 minor league innings under his belt. He's been able this year to throw 32, 29 and a third of which have been at Aberdeen. And with the Ironbirds, he put up very good numbers, including a 2.45 ERA and 38 strikeouts to go against 13 walks. Now, at this point, Ballmer is a pure relief prospect. It's pretty clear the Orioles are developing him as such. He's pitched out of the bullpen exclusively this year, mostly in the form of short outings. But if you're looking for a relief prospect who could be a bit of a late bloomer, in this case because of injuries, Ballmer's your guy. And as we're going to talk about a little bit on our next episode, there are some interesting Rule 5 considerations with Ballmer, given that he is Rule 5 eligible after this season and seemingly is among the many relief-type prospects that are making a strong case for the 40-man. And I don't know that a couple months ago we would have put Ballmer in this category, but we've seen what a healthy Carter Ballmer is capable of, even after all of the injuries that he's had in the course of his career. And it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, like we're gonna talk about him some more in the next episode, but yeah, he looks bigger, stronger, just free out there. And it is truly lethal stuff. He's back pumping 97, 98 with curveballs that are almost virtually unhittable. So yeah, I think we are gonna have a fun conversation here in a couple of minutes about Baumler.
He is the Hunter Harvey equivalent, where he couldn't stay healthy as a starter, convert to reliever, and let's get him up as quick as possible.
And for that does it for this episode. We will be back later on this week to answer your questions as part of our latest mailbag episode. In the meantime, you can check out our many social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, Twitch, Blue Sky, YouTube, and Substack, where we're there at oriolesontheverge.substack.com. And while you're browsing around the internet, be sure to head over to Patreon and sign up today. Become a member of our Patreon community. You can join to $3, $5, or $10 levels and have access to bonus weekly coverage from Bob, Nick, and myself, as well as monthly updates to our top 50 prospects list. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, what do those weekly episodes sound like? You can actually listen to the most recent episode for patrons on our main feed. So check that out. Nick did a very good job recapping the past week of Orioles action. And if you like what you hear, subscribe to Patreon for as little as $3 a month, and you can get those updates every week. And of course, when the off season rolls around, we'll come up with ways to generate more exclusive content for our patrons. For Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens, this is Zach Spedden. You've been listening to Orioles on the Verge, part of the Believe Podcast Network.